Welcome to the Final Frontiers radio show, where we spotlight inspiring missionary endeavors around the globe. Stay tuned to hear how you can personally get involved, helping the Lord's frontline soldiers effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. Today we'll have a series of testimonies from some of the Bible college students who attended the Beyond Borders Extreme Missions Boot Camp. And we'll also have the National Church Planner's biography of John Longisa in the country of Kenya, Africa.
Hello, this is Joshua Martin, and I'm here at the Beyond Borders Boot Camp in Missouri, our Extreme Missions Boot Camp, run by Pastor Matt Stallman and our crew of cadre here. We've been training for several weeks, and I wanted to give some testimonies of just some of the campers that have been here, let them tell you what it's like to train at this camp, preparing them for the mission field.
Hi, my name is John Austin, and I came into this camp, kind of expecting a challenge. It was more than what I expected, for sure, but in a good way. God challenged me physically, with stamina. It was hard at times, but in those hard times, definitely, it was the Lord that brought me through. Just praying and asking for strength at different times, whether it was hiking or the different tasks we had to do, even fire building. That can get frustrating at times, but when you look to the Lord and just ask Him to help you, He will.
Yeah.
There were so many times where I was on my third try in the fire, and I was like, Lord, you got to give me a fire. I want to eat, and I would rather eat something warm, something that's prepared right than not. And He came through each time. So this camp really taught me to trust God in every situation, and not to worry about my own weaknesses. To, in one sense, embrace them and just ask the Lord to give me strength for the task at hand. Another thing that was just really stuck out was how much the camp taught me to work as a team, not as an individual. I like to be very independent in the things I do, like work and so forth. And you can't always do that, especially in life. You have to learn to work as a team. And that's so important, because if we don't, I get bogged down with whatever I'm doing, and maybe somebody else can't do anything else, or they're just stuck, maybe feeling even useless because they're not doing anything. And it's so important to use everyone in your group, in your team, especially when you're on a missions trip. So I just praise the Lord for what He's taught me this week, these few weeks, and what He's going to keep on teaching me through what I've learned here and how I'm going to keep implementing it into my life.
Hi, my name is Savannah, and just being at camp this year, God really taught me a lot of things just practically, and just being able to prepare to go to the mission field. And honestly, before coming to missions camp, I always thought that, going to the mission field would be like, poof, kind of like magic. It's just going to happen. God's just going to bring it all together. But honestly, preparing for missions, there are a lot of things that God will do for you and provide for you, but there's also a part where you need to prepare as well and take a step of faith and be able to prepare yourself for missions, whether it's practically like learning basic survival skills or self-defense or different things like that, or contingency planning. That was such a big thing for me this year. And on the spiritual side, God just honestly taught me so much about how much I need to be dependent on Him, and not just in times of suffering, but in everyday life, that you need to be walking so close to Jesus and having such a close walk with God that you can turn to Him for anything and any moment of the time. And honestly, at missions camp, I honestly definitely saw answers to prayer where God just gave me that supernatural strength that I knew I couldn't just muster up on my own. Honestly, God worked in my heart a lot this year.
Yeah, in these scenarios that we do, there's just so many times when you're just worn out, completely worn out. And so you're pouring your heart out before Him.
Definitely.
Is a big part of this camp.
Well, my name is Nathaniel Ditches, and boy, the practical side of things was just quite eye-opening, especially just simply thinking ahead, thinking, as they would call it, left to the X. But it made it so I didn't have to go in my day wondering either what would I do if this happened, but instead already having it planned out and having almost confidence in knowing when I'm in a situation what would happen, where I would go. But definitely on the spiritual side as well, God's taught me a lot about working as even in leadership or working through the different people that I have under me, and taking really to heart even simply that God has given me a task that I have to give to other people below me, and it needs to be carried out effectively.
Yeah, it's not just survival skills that we teach out here, but it's a lot of just having to work with a team.
My name is Belen Vasquez, and Missions Camp has really helped me develop spiritually as well as physically. God can do great things through you if you're a good Christian in a sense, but if you're prepared as a missionary to take upon your body, the hardships, hunger, just the physical strain of life, if that's where God has called you, to the unreached, you need to prepare and you need to train, and it's not either or. You need to develop both, and that's what Missions Camp has helped me develop, to cry out to God when I'm weak, because I was weak most of the time, and He delivered and helped me in both areas, and now I can go forward knowing that God is always there, willing to help me in whatever area I need, whether it be physical or spiritual.
Hi, my name is Matthew, and coming into this camp, I didn't expect it to be such a physical and spiritual challenge as it was, but it was such a blessing. Just the cadre and just the preparation that was put into it to better prepare me for the mission field, and just thinking of contingency plans, just being prepared. And I would have never thought of that probably, but you got to have a plan before you go to the mission field, and there's so much planning that needs to go into it, and we're just so thankful, praising the Lord for this opportunity to grow and reach new levels and see how much God can use you beyond what you thought. Just, I know so many times just getting put to the test, and realizing I can do more than I thought I could do, but I have to be relying on the Lord, and He can just so many times just seeing Him totally, completely deliver and enable me to do stuff. And so just praising and thanking the Lord for the opportunity I had here.
And we teach a lot of security, but it all comes down in the end to God's protection. It really does. You're right. You're relying on Him.
Hi, I'm Stephen Gilmore, and this year I came into missions camp paying about $700 for the camp, and I feel like I've gotten 10 times more out of that. It's just been absolutely amazing, the skills, everything I learned from it. And you can come into camp thinking, okay, I could probably just make it through, but God will break you some point. Whether you feel physically strong, which you'll break sometime physically, but whether you can do it yourself or not, you're on a team.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the way, someone is going to break. They're not going to be able to do it physically, and whether that's your battle buddy and you're responsible for them, now you're broken.
Yeah.
Or your team leader, someone can't do it on your team, that person's done. You're done. And you learn to work together with people maybe you didn't think you could work with before. You can really work with a lot of different people. And missions camp really teaches you and shows you what you're training for. It shows you how much you're willing to give up to serve others, and how much you're willing to give up to serve Jesus. And they do a great job here making you feel like you are not in America. I have not felt like I've been in America at all, for sure. Even though, and they're playing mind games on you, which is really good for you. But even though, they're just staff, and we're here just in Missouri, it has not felt like America. It has been the mission field. And I'm so thankful. There are times when I had no strength, and God gave me exactly what I needed and more than that. And I'm so thankful for what the Lord taught me. So much training, especially situational awareness. God really awoke me to the dangers that there are in the mission field that I had no clue about. Even some of them that are in America that I didn't know about. Whether it's just a kid robbing you, or a terrorist attack, or it could be a lot of different things. Just simple planning. What if you do if you die, if you're kidnapped, if you're knifed, a lot of different things. And with that comes a lot of fear, But then you learn, oh, wait a second, God is in control of everything. He's in control of my life. He's the one who sets the appointment for my death.
Yeah.
And I don't have to worry about that. I need to be smart. I need to be aware. But I can't be aware of everything. I just can't. But there is a great foe out there who is trying to destroy us. And it's so good here at Missions Camp to learn those practical ways he does that. I really see, like never before, how that can really destroy a missionary if they're not aware. And so God has taught me so much that way. And so I just thank the Lord for the staff and for the time here at camp.
It's good. All the medical training in the world, and still it's God who's your refuge.
Right.
He's your protector.
That's right.
Well, I hope that you have enjoyed the interviews that you've heard here. And if anyone is interested, you can check out our show notes and come to the Final Frontiers website and see what's available.
If you are a Bible college student with a passion for missions, but may be unsure whether you are actually called to full-time service on the field, Final Frontiers has a month-long summer program in Honduras to give you that boost of opportunity you need to understanding the real world of missions. This summer internship provides hands-on training from real American and national missionaries, as well as a true immersion in third world ministry experience. Whether you're a student or Bible college looking for hands-on field training, if you're interested in this opportunity, please visit us at finalfrontiers.world.
Hey, welcome back to Biographies again. Today we're going to tell you about a brother named John Longisa. And he's an incredible man. He's in Kenya. He's married to a lady named Lucy. He said, I lived a long time enjoying life's pleasures, of which included evil habits of drinking, smoking, and chewing mira. I don't know what that is, but I don't want to know. He said he was involved in fighting and in giving insults to people. I did all those things without fear. I did not know that there was an eternal fire and life waiting for me after death. One day I broke my leg playing football. While undergoing treatment at the hospital, a Baptist preacher came to preach there. And I believe God sent him. He told me about heaven and hell, and I repented of my sins and trusted Jesus as my Savior. I was happy to be born a child of God. The preacher gave me a tract and a Bible that helped me to know about God and communicate with Him. When I left the hospital, I started testifying how Jesus had saved me. Even though my leg was broken, I did not concentrate on it, but rather about the eternal life Jesus had given me as a gift through faith. Because I was not in a church, I preached to my fellow herdsmen, and 4 men were saved. I wrote and asked about the Mount Kenya Baptist Church and asked them to come and baptize us. I was baptized along with my converts and my wife and my family members. My wife, brother, and sister were saved also from my preaching after I got out of the hospital. All of these things happened while I was still sick. After I was well again, I went back to work and continued preaching in the workplace. Because I did not have enough time to preach on the job, I left it, and I shared my burden to preach with the church, and they saw that I was able to get a Bible training class. My wife has been a great blessing for me in my ministry since she was saved. As a member of the Turkana tribe, I speak 2 languages, but the English is not so good. I've led 70 people to the Lord, and 30 have been baptized. We live in a house made of wood with a roof of iron sheets. Our favorite foods are roasted meat, eggs, and vegetables, and I'm able to raise some hens for eggs, but just enough for my family. That report or biography was written in 2004. So now, 12 years later, he has won 2,407 people to Christ. He has baptized 852 of those. He has gone into 72 villages to evangelize and has planted 17 churches. If you're interested in helping him or writing him a note that we can get to him, send it to us. Visit finalfrontiers.world. I hope you'll be able to take the time to communicate with him.
Your inquiries and comments are important to us. If you have questions or perhaps subject matter you would like to have addressed on this show, please visit us at finalfrontiers.world.
There are many verses in the New Testament that give us an understanding of missions and the work of a missionary, and many that give insight. These, once discovered and assimilated, will change the missionary's life forever. One is the concept of us becoming one of them. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Yet most missionaries are never taught it and therefore never discover it. We are actually taught to do just the opposite, to teach them to become like us. For example, Travel to any third world country and you'll see the western steeples of church buildings piercing the local landscape. We teach them to wear white shirts and ties in order to be respectful to God. We give them nicknames from our culture, feed them our food, and expect them to wear our clothing. Missionary Hudson Taylor realized that exporting our culture to China, along with the gospel, was hindering the Chinese from accepting Christ. He moved out of the mission compound to a rented room, wore the clothes of a Chinese coolie, the lower class of the people, grew his hair long, and wore a key, the ponytail worn by Chinamen. He was such an embarrassment to his fellow missionaries and board that they disowned him. Being alone and without funds, he started China Inland Mission and revolutionized missions by taking the gospel from the seacoast to the inland parts of China that were intentionally overlooked. By doing this, he began a new age of missions and was copied worldwide. Taylor was not the first to discover this insight into missions. For example, when was Paul's name changed from Saul to Paul? It was not at his encounter with Christ on the road to Damascus. That's what I was taught. No, it was years later on his very first missionary trip, trying to reach the Gentiles to whom he was called. He abandoned his Hebrew name of Saul for the Roman equivalent. Paul intentionally identified with them even in his persona. It was his first step in becoming all things to all men, so that by all means he might save some. And even before Paul, the greatest missionary of all, Jesus Christ became one of us so that we could understand his message. I'm John Nelms. To learn more about missions, order a copy of my book, The Great Omission, on our website at finalfrontiers.org.
You've been listening to the Final Frontiers radio show, funded by sponsors like you. Thank you so much for joining us. Through the funding of national and native preachers, we endeavor to effectively advance the gospel where it has never been preached before. If you want more information, visit www.finalfrontiers.world. That's finalfrontiers.world.